in my streams enough to like know what they call me anymore, kid. Hello? Excuse you? Good night, Eli.
Good
Sleep
night.
well.
Careful, bub.
They call you Burger.
You a burger? They call you a burger?
Live account of the Venom symbiote. Climb up my. Okay, you're banned.
Whoa. Whoa. Yeah, your chat. Your chat is cooked. Probably shouldn't play another one. But fuck it, we're already here.
Just your average VP thing.
Did he bubble himself mid?
Expect you to get dropped that quick.
Help me. Help me, please. I'm so scared.
Fuck.
What is that pin? Wait, everybody shares the same pin? That's so funny.
I don't think so. Do we? Pretty sure we don't.
I don't know.
You've never done stream together?
I have.
Okay, they just want you to.
You barely do it?
I don't know what it is. They don't
Yeah, I
want
don't
you
have
alive.
friends.
Holy shit, we get you some friends.
I have no friends. I have my uncle though.
W on.
I have uncle.
W on. Oh god.
That's me.
How has my Bucky died 3 times?
3? The character's broken. How you like 3 times?
When has he died 3 times? I didn't even notice he died 3 times. How's
Yeah,
that
He's a
he died
champion
immediately
Bucky.
as the game started,
humanly possible?
and then he
4
got
times.
he came back.
Now might be a good time to stop them.
Yeah, then died immediately again, and then got res.
Alright, we might need to swap off.
What
the
a
big thing
gambit,
to stay
old
for
bro.
DPS.
What? When is that ever a good play?
Yeah, we need to. They're just fucking.
Whoa. What
It's
happened?
fine, it's fine, it's fine. We just need to actually play a 6. It's good. They managed to sell.
What? That was weird. Oh, we gotta get this rocket all. If we can. It's kind of hard though.
Like a bad penny.
Okay, so playing another match was a mistake. I chose right to get off. Got it. What? How did I hit him? How did I get him? Where the fuck did he go? I don't know.
Help! Help, mommy, help. Bro, I'm gonna lose my.
Are you okay?
No. Bro, this guy decides
What the
to
fuck
ult
was that
after
noise
I
you did?
die. I'm strangling myself
The fuck?
in game. I just wrapped my hands around my neck in game.
Oh my lordy.
This is why my chat says I need a face cam, bro. Oh my god, please! Touching me, please! I didn't want to. Not again.
This game is
not
over.
again.
What the fuck? This game is over. Oh, nice.
Berserker!
Bro, this.
My wolf is throwing.
Bro, this Bucky. Bro, I'm so sick of fighting Bucky every match. This patch is so ass. It's just Bucky every single match. This fucking cornball ass character.
I gotta see what Moon got on her screen to proc these reactions. I'm getting touched! If it's not a Bucky pull, I'm getting touched by a Wolverine. If it's not a Wolverine that's touching me, it's the fucking stupid fucking Gambit. Boop, boop, boop. And I'm just like getting flung around the map. And then if it's not that, it's just Emma grabbing me by the fucking throat and then slamming me into the ground, which I'm not complaining about. But then
Wait,
this
what?
mag is booping me with his
What?
right click. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Like,
Fucking
what
Bucky
am I
the
supposed
Bay
to do?
Harbor Butcher.
I just
Holy
became a
shit.
rapper. Supersonic speed. Nom, 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 nom.
Jean may not be here, but she's
Like, look at me! No, 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 no. Wong, Wong, please! Oh my god, again! Oh my god, go again! 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 Again!
Oh my god, I thought his name said
I'm a
something
high
else.
court. I'm a high court.
Yo, I
Streamer.
read that Bucky's name is something else, bro. Oh
You're
my
Bucky?
lordy.
Baby Harbor Stroker?
No, 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 R. Wait, what? No, 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 no. R.
What?
What?
Baby Harbor. Oh, Bay Harbor Stroker? Herb Stomper? I just died because of you.
No,
just died because of you
that's your
again.
fault for reading it so slow. You took 10 years to read that.
It's not curb? If it's not a curb, then what is a curb? If it's curb stomper. Curb stomper?
Oh man. Don't worry about it.
Okay, clearly I don't know what he meant because I'm confused, but like whatever. Oh my god, he's grappling.
Can't see it. Can't see.
No! Here, Magneto. Bang!
Bro, you charged that thing like negative numbers. That was negative charge. I have never seen a Magneto get negative charge on his ult. Did you even charge it? What was that?
I'm gonna charge this fucking massive ass fist off your
What
face,
the fuck?
bro.
That was the lowest charge.
Yeah, let Rocket charge off. Let Rocket charge off.
Yo, her ult did not even.
Back.
Airball of Doom? Yo.
How did you manage to do
If in
20% damage with a mag
I'm
ult?
about to charge this fist into your stomach.
Yo, I lie.
Get the fuck
You were
out.
smart to get off. My team is throwing. You were smart to get off. I have never seen a Magneto charge an ult and do 20
It was at
damage.
it was at 50. It was at 50. I got nervous. I thought that was enough. She
Oh
didn't
my
overload.
god. That was so funny.
Bro, she didn't have
Holy
overkill.
shit. I should have got off when I got off. Oh my
She
god.
didn't have overkill. She didn't have overshield.
Nah, you're funny, bro.
Like, it's just not that funny. You're making me angry.
Nah, bro, you got
I'm getting angry.
Oh man, that was hilarious.
Why is this guy diddling my ears, bro? Like, get out of my
What?
ears.
Someone's doing what? Bro, what are you saying?
Dude, this guy's voice is like literally licking my ear.
What?
I'm
What
uncomfortable.
the
It's like
fuck
so,
is she saying?
It's so loud. It's so loud. And it's like deep. It's like
I'm
touching my
convinced you're
eardrum.
so high ranked to the point where that shit is like destroyed your brain cells.
I'm not even high rank.
On this account.
I'm like Celestial 1 right
Okay,
now.
what's your peak?
I'm a pig. Turn me 155.
Ah, there we go. Ah. All that grinding rivals has numbed her damn brain.
Nom 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 nom. Nom 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 nom. Wait, did she have Mantis Hulk?
Doesn't charge on? No, because it's a beam.
Help me, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. Thank you for the follow, Icy Baby Man. Icy Man Baby 77. Why is she so I thought that said I read erratic as
Y'all gotta hold up.
what's the other word? The one where it's like erect?
I'm dead as fuck. I'm not dead. Wow.
Die, bitch, die! Okay.
Oh god.
I read it as like exotic as well. I thought you called me exotic, and I was like, that's like gotta be so.
I'm stalling. I need help.
Holy
Why are you
shit,
over
man.
there?
I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I got 8 hours of sleep for the first time in like 10 years. Like,
No, I didn't need to die. How does Rocket die?
Man,
Keep banging.
slap me, I'm dead. Whoo, this is fried. Bro, they're running a
Seems like
sweaty
some
ass comp
babies
too.
now.
Holy
Yo,
shit.
my dude, Blade, pick a DPS and
Bro,
stick to it,
bro,
my
bro.
dog.
First off.
Stick to
First
the
off.
DPS and
You're
stick
playing
to it.
Bucky.
I'm not
I don't want to
saying
hear
anything
it.
bad, I'm just telling
You're
you to stick
playing
to a
Bucky, bro.
DPS, my brother.
You're playing
I'm just
Bucky.
telling
No,
you
no,
to
I
stick
switched
to
the blade
one.
to stall. I switched the blade to stall.
To win this one.
I switched the blade to stall.
Just telling you, stick to one DPS, my dude.
I switched only once. What is he saying? I switched from Wolverine to Cyclops, and I switched the blade to stall longer.
I swap with mine.
I mean, we lost the first point because of you, and then you played Cyclops, switched around and switched the blade to the end of the stall.
Yep, or maybe we just got rolled the first point, that was it.
You got rolled. None of us died.
was
You
a
died 3
5v6
times.
entire first
You
point.
died 3
What?
times in like 60 seconds.
Alright, I'll get
That
the-
seems like a
You can't blame one of us for that.
I mean, you can. It's your elo. Shit.
Yeah, it's yours. I mean, you can do that.
Enough today. I mean, I don't care.
30
I
seconds.
think
Jesus
they should
Christ.
probably hop off the
We're
game.
just gonna be a bunch of assholes. But
We're not big. You started this. What?
Yeah.
What? So now we're assholes. He's the one that. Okay.
I said one thing. I said, can you stick to 1 DPS?
Yo, the tension in here is crazy.
guy is
When you guys start making out. When you guys start making out.
Just
Tension in here is
Let's
crazy.
go moon, bro.
Tension in here is
past
crazy. Tension in here is
Yeah, we
crazy.
got the
Bro.
bad
Start making out
Yeah,
with me, bro.
I'll just play Blaze. Fuck
Your
it.
mom's insurance, just FYI. Just saying.
Me?
Wait, what?
Not you.
It's not on mine. I have blue crossbow shield 38.
Hey, that's pretty good for insurance.
Wait, what? Are you guys listing your insurances?
But
What? Bro, we lost. These cops are fried.
What's that?
Oh, mommy, hella behind me.
Mommy,
Let's go,
what?
Dad.
A
Let's
what?
go. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Oh shit! I'm on the left
Let's
side.
go, Dad,
with-
let's
I'm
go.
over here.
She's dead.
She's dead,
I'm
she's
dead.
dead, she's dead.
I need a
she's
heal.
dead.
I'm dead.
Okay,
I was
apparently
coming
she's
back
dead,
from
but the
spawn.
rest of my fucking team is too. I don't know how, but we're dead. What,
Wait, how
you
does
queued us to a
Mandy's not
Rivals play?
banned?
Guys, I've been playing Rivals for 9 hours. Like, I don't think it's possible for me to be sane. Like, I genuinely don't think it's possible for me to be sane. For free.
Huh?
Do you enjoy Rivals? Because I can't tell I actually do enjoy Rivals. I have to make it fun for me by, like, choking myself out sometimes and, like, screaming at the top of my lungs.
What?
Like, I have to make it funny, you know?
Dude, I can't fucking walk forward because this hella just keeps pegging me. Wait, no.
Bro, wait,
Oh my
nah,
god,
my teammates are cooked.
I'm so
yeah, okay,
jealous.
This,
I'm
this
so
game is fried.
please give me her strap.
Yo, I
bro.
lie. Yo,
Please,
she was
so
smart to get off.
yo.
My team is cooked, bro. My team is cooked. My team is cooked, bro.
Yeah, we need it so our support's stronger.
There's a girl mewing in my ear, and then this
That's
guy's
too
getting
loud, bro.
pegged. What is happening?
I wish it was me. I wish it was me.
I should have gone off while I had the chance.
Lobster too buttery, steak too juicy type fucking comment, bro.
She was smart to get off.
That was our last.
Why am I not as smart as her?
Don't even worry. Oh fuck. What the fuck? Don't worry, Koch on him. I'll save
David's
you.
ulting.
And my uncle doesn't have ult yet somehow, even though we've been getting pegged like straight.
Is he still getting begged?
I wish I was getting pegged.
What the fuck? Who's he ulting? That's gotta be racist.
Yo!
wait, why were you next to me? I was calling him racist for going for the black guy, but then you were next to me as well.
He didn't even mean to go for me. He didn't even
Yeah,
want
he
to.
was going for me. I don't know why you were standing next to me.
I wasn't even. What are you saying? I wasn't even standing next to you.
Wait, how did you die?
He did.
Oh, that's gonna be a skill issue, no?
Oh my god, where is it?
I'm finding a Captain American ult right now.
I didn't even need to go for me.
Why is my team like sitting in spawn?
Hold on, we wanting a cap. It's an ego battle.
Whoa, he didn't even
You win
need
that.
to
You
go
win
for
that.
me.
But he ran away. He got healed by Bucky. Oh, come back, come back. This game is over, so I'm just 1v1. These guys are cowards.
Bro, there's just no way I'm that fat, obese, and unlucky to die to a Maggle that wasn't even meant to hit me. He missed.
Bro, are you gonna
Dumbass
fight me or are
missed.
you gonna keep running away?
I'd be scared
Oh
of
my
you,
God,
Aura,
this
too,
guy's-
in Tofu-san. Talk.
I have a goon killer in my damn ear.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm helping this guy go again.
and stay right there. I'm almost
15.
done. Yeah, I'm banning you.
If you get the exile
Final 10 seconds.
or not.
I mean, read his name. Are you surprised what he said?
Luna Snowgooner, me too though. Like, yo, what is the statement? Like, my brother's just another me. Or something.
Wait, what the fuck? He just teleported. Wait, what the fuck is happening? I'm dead as fuck. What? He lag or?
Can you carry me? Carry me! Uncle, I just kept you alive through like 7 people dying you. Uncle, please.
I'm
heal
sorry.
me.
I was trying to heal them
Uncle,
too.
please.
I turned around for 1 second.
Is this by your background noise? Yeah, I'm low-key exploding everywhere. It's okay, Uncle. I can never be mad at you.
I'm sorry. I'm a bad support.
Wait, this
What
is
the
a crazy
fuck
portal. Wait, holy shit!
Like, I need to have you killed, bro. Like, you need to be
Wait,
killed. Like,
wait, no
you
one
need
saw
to be
that.
killed. You need to be killed.
Wait, no one saw that. No one saw that.
He literally fucking leaps and put a portal in the air.
I can't, bro. I can't, bro. I can't, bro. I can't. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna
You guys
lose
did
it, bro.
not
I'm
see
about to
that
lose
shit.
it, bro. I'm about to
You
lose
guys
it.
did not see that shit, bro. You guys did
You
not
saw
see
it, bro.
that.
You
Y'all
saw
didn't
it.
see
Fucking
shit.
like in 4K, bro. I saw that shit.
You guys didn't see shit.
Wait, what type of monitor do I have, chat? I don't remember. Is it 2K or 4K?
You can't even
Whatever
fucking see correctly. You don't even know what
whatever
monitor you
something
have.
I have some sort of monitor. Oh, I'm dead. I'm in their spawn.
You ulted back here. Yeah, you're trolling.
It's a portal to another dimension.
What if this was my main, bruh? Hey, you're trolling.
If this match goes to OT, no one Moon finishes this match
I'm
saying
going
like
to- we're
GM
gonna
players
combo
are
our ults.
so weird, bro. Like I can't even imagine what are going through their heads right now.
Huh? Oh, okay, sure.
Oh no, they're not. GM players are not very bright.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why does a man throw it in a random corner that I'm somehow in? No.
Why do you
Wait,
remember
get in
that?
front of me, get in front of me, get in front of me.
Hold on, I'm about to kill my gamma.
Only 60 seconds left. That's 3.
Point.
I should eat a fucking bomb. And
Aw. I killed him, but he got his passive.
Oh, that chat quotes list is so funny. You guys should like, even if you guys like aren't like active in my chat, really, you guys have to check out that document, bro.
Hey,
It's
does my
so
takes want to go
funny.
for it?
It might be incriminating evidence in there. I don't know if I can check that out.
Death is actually in that. I got him clipped and shipped, bro. My uncle is in that.
Magneto's getting tossed. Yeah. She slapped me?
Can't see.
Alright, I got some portaling again.
Nowhere yet.
Please don't. I'd rather like anybody else portal but you.
I'm up next. Hold on. Wait, the portal's on cooldown. Hold on, 3 seconds. 2, 1. Boom. Okay.
Soon.
A shortcut through space.
Gamma. Mantis, nice.
Whoa, one point.
Power beyond sight.
Nice.
See? It worked
I
out.
kept you alive there that time.
Arigato
Are you proud?
gozaimasu.
I'm learning.
Thank you, uncle. You saved
Vehicle
me.
reached a checkpoint. Keep up the
Thank
momentum.
you.
You like 12 years old? I have to ban you.
No. It's Negro
What?
voice.
What are girls?
Thank you, uncle. Why is Death in there? Because he was talking about my...
You were talking. Oh my god.
I don't know what girls are. All I know is Marvel Rebels. What the fuck? That guy didn't do it.
Oh my god, uncle, you're alive. Holy shit. Ankarato.
Power beyond
That
sight.
guy's just running away.
Oh. Voila.
Armed and again.
I'm gonna not play the worst tank against Wolf.
What is the worst tank against Wolf? Strange?
I mean, I was portaling. That's why I'm not strange.
Yeah, alright, like this guy's like
Oh, that's crazy.
a little slow, I think.
Beyond sight.
I pulled cap. I'm like actually locking in. I'm
We'll
gonna win
switch
this
characters.
game. I need to win this game.
This
I
game
need
is
to win
over.
No.
This
Winnable.
game is hella over. A fucking taco waffle 14
He
and 10.
lost.
No
Nope,
barrier.
it's over.
Going to
It's
overdrive.
over. It's over. It's over.
This guy's about to get so angry at us.
Oh wait, it's the guy with the nice voice.
We are
Holy trio stream. Hi Orion.
Final score.
I work the night
2,
shift.
3.
Moon, you still awake? Unfortunately. The poor e-girl needs
Oh,
an
man.
invis skin.
Yikes.
This is my like 5th alt account, bro.
Well, you can't
Moon,
expect
don't
to
let
win
him
them
fool
all.
you. Nasu has
Huh?
a Psylocke body pillow. Me
What
too.
the fuck are we talking about?
Yeah,
I don't have no
yeah.
body pillow, bruh. They're gaslighters.
My chat mod has a chat.
What the? Alright, are you guys staying on?
Yeah.
Alrighty, I'm out of here. I will catch you guys.
Have